everyone, and welcome to the Kingdom Keepers podcast. I am your host, Liz, and with me today I have Taryn
Hiya.
and Jess.
Howdy.
Today we are going to rank our top 10 dark rides at Walt Disney World, but first we're going to go around and give some updates on our lives in the Carousel of Progress and discuss some Disney news of the week. One exciting thing that we have to share is that Jess and I's Uncle Jason has started his own travel agency. He was very generous in gifting Jess and I new mics for recording, so Jess is going to tell you all about his new adventure. Introducing the magical world of Disney like you've never experienced it before. Are you dreaming of a fairy tale vacation filled with enchanting adventures and unforgettable memories? Look no further than Twinning Around the World, your trusted Disney travel expert. At Twinning Around the World, they specialize in turning your Disney dreams into reality. Whether you're planning a family getaway, a romantic escape, or a friend's adventure, they are here to make it happen all seamlessly. Ready to embark on your Disney adventure? Contact them today at twinningaroundtheworld.com. That's twinningaroundtheworld.com to start planning your dream vacation. They will make your Disney dreams come true, one magical moment at a time. This week in Disney news, Disney announced that all-day park hopping will be returning January 9th of 2024. This coincides with the removal of the park reservation system at the same time. The only thing I'm sad about is that it's not coming earlier when we're going on vacation. Jessica and I are going to be down there December 1st through the 9th, and so I'm upset that we're missing it by literally a month.
I am very excited about this news because I'm not the biggest fan of having to wait till 2 to park hop. And I'm just excited that it's coming back and that everything's finally seeming like it's really back to normal and like everything is just really going good with their new systems.
Yeah, I'm excited too. It'd be nice as, I guess, a local, quote unquote, that I can just like park hop whenever. But the one thing that does scare me is about the virtual queues for Guardians and Tron. That's gonna impact it significantly. Of just like the wait time, I feel like that's gonna be huge for Guardians and Tron. Yeah, so I was at Disney Springs today and I saw at World of Disney that they had new Christmas merch out, and it's very reminiscent of the D100, just collaborative, just all your favorite characters on like the lounge flies and the shirts and everything. They also have this like, I don't know if it's retro, but it's like this winter-esque, just like skiing collection where they have like little hats, like little skiing hats that were really cute, and they had this lounge fly with different characters. It was just really cute to see. I'm very excited for the Christmas merch that's coming out.
Yeah, seeing the pictures that you sent us, it does look like it's like an older style of animation, but they're adding like all of the characters onto it. Like I think there was like Peter Pan, and it was obviously like Mickey and stuff like that. So it looks really cute, and I am now really mad that all of my money is going to be gone when we go down in December because all of it is adorable. Today's topic is the Kingdom Keepers Top 10 Dark Rides. So I had the Kingdom Keepers send me their ranked list of all 17 dark rides, and I took those lists and I combined them and created our top 10 based on how the team collectively ranked them. So the 17 rides are Ratatouille, Peter Pan, Dinosaur, Haunted Mansion, Pirates, Rise of the Resistance, Navi River Journey, Winnie the Pooh, the Nemo ride, Spaceship Earth, Frozen Ever After, Small World, Three Caballeros, Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway, Little Mermaid, Figment, and Living with the Land. And yes, we did include Living with the Land. So to get us started here, I'm going to talk about some of our honorable mentions because there are obviously um, 11 through 17 that did not make the top 10. So I'm just going to kind of get those out of the way. Also, my hosts don't know what actually made the finalized list, so this is going to be a surprise to them too. So, At number 17 is Figment. Nobody gave love to our boy Figment. Taryn had Figment ranked at 13, I believe, and that was the highest ranking for that ride.
Listen, I can explain. I just have fond memories of just having people go on the ride with me and just experiencing the chaos that it is. And now I'm excited for my mom to go on Figment, and now seeing that you can meet Figment himself, I feel like that'd be a great reaction to have.
I will say, Figment the character is very cute and very great, and obviously he is being shown a lot of love. But the ride desperately needs some love. It kind of just feels like it's very stuck in time. And I know a lot of people say that they love the OG version. So I just hope that the ride gets a little bit more love with all the Figment love that we're seeing.
I definitely agree. Figment, the ride as it is now, it seems very outdated, and it just needs love, like Jess said. It seems like it's falling apart. Some of the effects don't work anymore, and we just really need to give Figment some love to get higher on our list. Alrighty. And then number 16 was, as I call it, the Mexico boat ride, but it's Gran Fiesta Tour featuring the Three Caballeros. And I'm a little upset about this one because I had this ride as number 9 and Kenzie had it at 6. Everybody else ranked it 15 and below.
Made it at 6.
Yeah, we love this ride. Did you not listen to Kenzie's Perfect Disney Day?
I know, but I didn't think it would be number 6.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, we love that ride. I think it's mostly because like the music just makes us really happy on that ride. Um but I think Jess and I were talking about this earlier. Like we both like the ride. It just seems really empty because when they redid it from I think it was called Rio de Tiempo or Rio del Tiempo, um and it was just about like Mexico, and when they redid it from there, they didn't add much to it except for like the ending. Number 15, sorry, Taryn, is Navi River Journey. Taryn ranked this at 5, everybody else ranked it 12 and below.
I mean, that's fine. I'm not hurt at all. I just have a personal connection to Pandora, so I understand. Not all of y'all are gonna rank Navi that high. I can live with that.
It feels really empty and boring compared to the other things that are in that part of the park. And the only thing is that big animatronic at the end. And Jessica hates animatronics, so that's probably why it ranks so low on her list too.
I think it's an impressive animatronic. I just think it's a very short ride, and I guess I was just expecting more in Pandora and them building a whole new land in Animal Kingdom. And that's why it just doesn't rank as high. I still think it's a pretty impressive ride and it's visually very stunning. I just don't ever really think about it.
Alrighty, and number 13. Nope, we're at number 14. Number 14 is Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. And it only was on Taryn's top 10 list, but it was at 8. So it was a little lower on there. I mean, I love this ride. It's just compared to all of the other ones, and like if I'm comparing my list, it just didn't quite make it on there. Mine was at 12, so that's kind of where I was at on that one. It just barely was not on my list.
I mean, I just have a lot of nostalgia, especially the Disneyland version. There's just a lot of nostalgia going on Winnie the Pooh with my family. The one here at Magic Kingdom definitely needs some love. I feel like it's super short, and as much as I love going on it, it's just oh man, it needs some TLC.
And don't touch those honey walls in the queue. Just don't do it. Alrighty, number 13, Small World. It only made two top 10 lists, which was me and Taryn. Taryn had it at 9 and I had it at 8. I think mine made the list due to nostalgia reasons. I mean, I love It's a Small World. Every time I go to Disney World, I have to go on It's a Small World. Even when I was living down there, I think every time I was in Magic Kingdom not working, I think I went on Small World. It's just, I also have this incredible love for Mary Blair and her designs. So going on that and just like seeing the work that she put into everything, because she had her hand on absolutely everything in that ride because the color designs had to match her vision. And so I think that's why I love it so much, and I just love the history behind it.
This was my number 11, so it was just shy of my top 10. And I think it's an amazing ride, and it's very stunning, and it has a lot of detail. And obviously, all those little characters are like really adorable, even though sometimes, they can be pretty creepy. But I just think it's like a great ride. It just sadly didn't make my top 10.
It just has a lot of nostalgia for me too, which is why it's on the top 10. And I just have a lot of fond memories just thinking about how it relates to the book series that Billy Pearson wrote.
Yeah, the book series that we kind of stole the name from, but that's okay. Alrighty, and then number 12, ranking really high for me, is Dinosaur. I may know the entire audio to that ride, but that is sheerly out of survival tactic. I hate that ride. That ride was my number 17. It did make the top 10 of 3 out of 5 hosts lists. It was number 4 on Kenzie's, it was number 6 on Taryn's, and it was number 9 on Kenzie's. Nope, on Maddie's. Sorry, it was number 9 on Maddie's. Um, it just the because Jessica and I ranked it so low, it averaged out to 12.
We know my personal thoughts and feelings on dinosaur animatronics. However, I do want to say that it is a good ride. Like, I will be sad when, Dino Land gets its whole revamp and it's no longer Dino Land. Because I think the idea was really good, and I know Joe Rody had a lot of love that he wanted to give that ride and sadly couldn't do it. And so in the state that it's currently in, I just couldn't put it in my top 10 because it feels unfinished. It is his unfinished work, and I do think that it feels unfinished, but I think it deserves some love. I just not by me.
And number 11 is right right at the cutoff is Peter Pan. Let me see here. So I ranked this at my 13. Kenzie ranked it at 8. Taryn ranked it at 12. Jessica, you ranked it at 9. And Mads ranked it at 8 as well. So it made 3 out of 5 hosts top 10, but it was barely edged out of the other two's top 10. So, I mean, Peter Pan's great ride. It's very nostalgic. It's like classic Disney World ride. I just think that the Disney World version, even with the newer updates, it still needs love. There's still some big points that need to be updated, and I mean, I love this ride, but with everything else that's come around and the new ones that have come out, it just that's why it wasn't in my top 10, but I know why it's in other people's top 10s.
It's kind of shocking to me that it didn't make the top 10 list because when I think of dark rides at Disney, Peter Pan just automatically comes to mind because it was one of the basic OG versions of a dark ride. But I understand why some people don't particularly like it, but I did have it at my number 9, so it was low on my list. But I love this ride. It's great. The little pirate ships, and then they do the little pixie dust, and it's just cute. I like this ride.
I mean, I like the ride too. It's definitely nostalgic. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm going to bring up Disneyland a lot because that's my home park. It's where I grew up, and so I think. But I remember, like, on both coasts, it just is a long wait for such a short ride. It's very nostalgic. we all love Peter Pan, but it's just for a short ride and just a long wait. That's why I feel like it's low on the list.
The moment we've all been waiting for. We're finally into our top 10 list. So at number 10 is The Little Mermaid. This
Okay, fair,
was.
fair. I
Yeah.
get it. I understand. Fair, fair.
This was on three people's top 10 list. It was on Mads, Jess, and Kenzie's top 10 list. Taryn and I are the only one that did not have it in our top 10. Mine was at 11, so it just barely did not make it on my top 10 list, but I'm glad that it made it onto the podcast top 10 list. I love this ride. Anybody who knows me in real life knows that I have a huge connection to Ursula. Ursula is my favorite Disney character. Um, it just, there's other things that I enjoy more. I also think the ending of the ride is really abrupt storyline wise, and I really wish it was just slightly longer.
This was my number 8, and I really love this ride. I love all the new Fantasyland additions, and the outside of this ride is just so beautiful. And I think the ride is really great. I do think that, it could, a few more scenes could be added, and it would be a great ride. As it stands, I think it's pretty good, and I really enjoy it. But I do think that consider it like the number 10 spot or the number 8 spot in my heart. But I think it's a fair rating.
At number 9, we have Nemo. I love the Nemo ride. I think when Taryn and I did our 4 parks 1 day challenge, I made her go on Nemo, and at the end we were just screaming Big Blue World together. Um, I mean I love the ride and I love the music. This made only two people's top 10 lists, but it was really high on their top 10 list, and so that's why it got up to number 9. Um, 9 and 10 were actually tied points wise, so they could have been interchangeable. The only reason why Nemo is at number 9 is because Taryn had it as number 3 on her list, so it edged out Little Mermaid just a little bit.
Yeah, I just have a lot of nostalgia just with the movie and when I was a kid, just growing up, just rewatching Nemo over and over again. So I love the Nemo movie, and every time I go to Epcot, I usually always go on Nemo first. So it's definitely really high up there, and just having that memory of us going and seeing the Big Blue World and going into the aquarium. That's why it's really special to my heart.
I just think it's a wonderful entrance to the aquarium. I think having a ride to enter into the aquarium is just really cool. Maddie did have this as number 5 on her list as well, which is also why it was set a little higher. Alrighty. And now number 8, Living with the Land. This one,
This deserves to be number 1. Living with the Land is amazing, and I will die on this hill. It's not my number 1, but it deserves to be number 1 because it's number 1 in my heart. And if it was Listen to the Land, it would be number 1.
if they brought back that theme song, it would be number 1. I mean, I love Living with the Land. I think it really speaks to Epcot's original mission of education and being interactive and fun with that education. I mean, the first scenes are really cool, in my opinion. Even with the dog with the mouth that doesn't move, I'm fine with that. I think it's just really cool how the restaurant also overlooks those scenes. And then I love the greenhouse. I don't like when people say they get bored in there. I think it's really cool. Like there's usually like a watermelon or a pumpkin or something that's Mickey shaped or like a cube, and I just think it's really fun. It's a great way to just sit down, relax at Epcot, learn a few things, and they need to bring back the theme song. That's all I'm saying.
What was the theme song?
It's
Yeah,
called.
theme song.
Just make believe you're a tiny little seed, a tiny little seed that's reaching up to meet your need. with the right amount of faith and the right amount of earth. You'll grow to see the sunshine on your day of birth. Let's listen to the land we all love. Nature's plan will shine above. Listen to the land. Listen to the land.
Even though living with the land is edutainment, so some people might get bored, I just think, it's a great slow moving boat ride that you get a lot of the scenery in on, and the greenhouse part is great, even though some people might say it's boring. I just think it's fun to see like how things are growing and like that they use some of this in the food that's in the land area, and it's just so cute and cozy and cool. Like, I'm such a fan of edutainment, so this really works for me.
Number 7, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure.
I thought this would be higher, even though I know some people have hate for this ride, but this is one of my favorite rides and favorite additions that they've added in, and my cat's name is Ratatouille. I love this ride. I love this movie. I love this new area, and that's why it's so high up for me, and that's why I have so much love for it. But I just think like it's a great, cute addition. You're riding around as a little mouse rat. It looks like a mouse, not a rat, so I call it a mouse rat. And it's a perfect blend of scenery and sets, but also the screens. So where it's not just you're staring at a screen the entire time, you're like moving through physical scenes and sets, and it's really awesome. So I had this as my number 3, and I will go to war for this ride.
Yeah, so this was on 3 people's top 10 lists, mine, Jessica's, and Maddie's. I had it at number 2. I love this ride. I think it is adorable. I think it is just great. It's a great example of how we move forward with dark rides and we update them, but we still keep the charm of the older dark rides. You have to have those sets, you have to have the amazing looking surroundings, but you can also have screens and enhance that experience. It's just with newer rides, especially if you think like to Universal rides where they just put you in front of a scene, it's not as immersive, it's not as cool, it doesn't give you that Disney magic you expect. So I'm just really glad that this is the way we're heading with new dark rides and not towards just screens. Alrighty, and at our number 6 is Spaceship Earth. So 4 out of 5 hosts had this at on their top 10 list. Maddie's the only one who didn't, but it was at number 11, so I feel like there was a Sophie's Choice happening here. Um, I know Maddie isn't huge into the edutainment either, so that's probably where she was standing. But this was number 10 on Jessica's list, 7 on Taryn's, 5 on Kenzie's, and 4 on mine. So it is sitting in our podcast number 6.
I love this ride. I just like how like I can't talk. I love how it's educational in the beginning, and then you sort of get to make your own world in your head and like see it play out, and you have multiple different versions. I think that's really cool. And the games after the exit is really cool too.
I have my bachelor's in communications, so obviously this ride is all about communication. So I love it a lot. I, obviously not a fan of the animatronics, so that's why it sits at number 10. But like I said, I love the edutainment. I love that it takes you through time and that it shows you all these like beautiful scenes of just how communication evolved and like why we are where we are now. And it's just so amazing, like how Disney just creates these things. And so I am very like, I have a lot of love for this. I'm just sadly afraid of like 90% of this ride.
I mean, I don't know if you guys have a favorite scene in Spaceship Earth, but mine is when you're riding through and you see the painting of the Sistine Chapel. I think I think one of the best things about this ride is not only that it has great scenes and a great story that it's telling, but it uses all of your senses. There's different smells in every single portion of that room. The music changes around you. Like the Sistine Chapel one is just it it completely draws you in and you believe you're in this world and you believe you're time traveling and looking at all of these different things. And I also love how every time we go past the moon landing, my dad goes, "Huh, I was there for that. I was alive for that." Cuz it brings us into our present. It's not focused on some distant future. It's literally it brings communication to our present and then we get to imagine our own futures like Taryn was saying with the interactive screen part. Like we get to imagine what we want and think about what we want out of our futures instead of somebody telling us this is what the future is going to look like. Number 5 on our list, we're halfway through, is Frozen. So I felt like maybe there were going to be some more Disney purists in here and be upset about Maelstrom. I'm not upset about Maelstrom. That ride scared me. So, but we all have this on our top 10 list except for Kenzie, who had it at 12. But I think a lot of this plays into for me as well because I think we only went on it once before I moved down to Florida. But when I was with my roomies in Florida and we were in Epcot, there was this night where it poured. It poured down rain, and I was smart and I brought my rain jacket, but Maddie did not bring hers, and Maddie was wearing white. So guess who got my rain jacket? Maddie. And but it was pouring, and when we got into because we were in line for Frozen, and it just let down on us. When we got into the building for Frozen, we were all soaked and we were just sitting there laughing the whole time. And then when we got on the boat, all of us were just singing, like every person in the boat. It wasn't even just us. Every single person in that boat just needed to let go of all the frustration that that pouring down rain and getting soaked gave us, and we just sang our hearts out with Elsa, and it was a beautiful moment. This ride brings so much joy, and it shows the new generation what dark rides can be, and that it bringing that IP that the new generation is now growing up with into the parks.
Yeah, I definitely have a lot of love for the Frozen ride too, not only with that memory of us getting poured down and you having to give Maddie her main jacket. That was so funny. But but I also have this memory of my first trip to Disney World, and my family and I went on Frozen, and I had no idea any of it, none of it that I knew. And we were going, and then we get to the Elsa, and we have this video of my sister saying, "We're going backwards," and it just became this like really fun moment on that trip.
Number 4 on our list is Rise of the Resistance. So this made all of our top 10 lists. It was at number 10 for me and Taryn, and then it was at number 5 for Jess, 4 for Mads, and 2 for Kenzie.
I mean, what can you say about this ride that hasn't been said already? Obviously, it's like a feat of technology, it's a feat of imagineering, and it just is such an immersive ride and story that it's just so amazing for not even just Star Wars fans, just for anyone who goes on the ride. You instantly understand the story and you're instantly immersed in like this world and all of the sets, all of the pieces, it just all flows so smoothly together that it's just such an amazing ride. I had it as my number 5, so just below the spot that we have it, but I'm glad that it's in the spot it's in because it really does deserve it.
Yeah, it's such a huge technological thing. And it's amazing to go on for sure. I I just don't have that real connection to Star Wars. Like I like the Star Wars franchise, but for me, I feel like it's for the people who are diehard Star Wars fans that go on it over and over again without question. But it's a great ride for sure.
I am one of those diehard Star Wars fans. Um, it's it's honestly breathtaking, especially the first time you ride it. And I mean, even after the first time you ride it, I mean, there are so many things. Like, I've ridden this ride a couple of times now since living down there. And it's just the amount of immersion in this whole experience is just absolutely insane. This is also what I'm talking about, the future of dark rides. Like, the amount of immersion that has gone into this. And yes, it's definitely catering towards us Star Wars nerds, and it's definitely not in the same vein as normal Disney dark rides. This is definitely an experience. I still included it on this list because it is such a big deal and it's a big thing that Disney did. But I like where it is. It's fair, but it's not taking the spotlight away from pure Disney dark rides. Alrighty, we're at our top three now. So our third dark ride is Haunted Mansion. This was on everyone's top 10 list except for Taryn. This was high on everyone's top 10 list except for Taryn, who put it at 14. Kenzie and I had it at 3, and Jess and Mads had it at 2, but that 14 brought it down to third place.
Listen, when I was a child, that ride scared me out of oblivion, and I've resented it ever since. My uncles have also scared me on that ride. So, yes, is it an original Disney IP that is beloved by everyone else? Yes. Is it scary to a person that is still afraid of the dark just a little bit? Yes. It's scary. Okay? Leave me alone.
So I had the exact opposite experience of Taryn. I was still scared to ride it when I was a kid, but our family took a trip when we all went to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. And of course, you have to ride Haunted Mansion when you go to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. And this was the first time that I was riding it. I think I was like 8 or 9, maybe a little bit younger, maybe a little bit older. Don't quote me on that. And it was the first time I was ever going to ride it, and I was still scared of it. But I went and I rode it with my uncle. Shout out Uncle Nathan. And it was just so fun to ride it on like a Halloween party night, and it was just such good vibes that ever since, like, it is one of my favorite rides. It's one of my favorite properties. Like, I just love Haunted Mansion so much. It is my number 2 spot, and I will ride for this ride.
When you talk about quintessential Disney, there's a few dark rides that you think of. Peter Pan being one of them, and Haunted Mansion being one of them. There's another one that we haven't talked about yet, but Haunted Mansion is quintessential Disney. It sucks you into a story that you don't even have to know beforehand. You get the story as soon as you walk in. Now, the actual storyline of the ride has gotten convoluted over the years. There wasn't a real story to begin with, but the fact that you're in this creepy mansion and you feel like you're in this creepy mansion and there's ghosts all around and there's this floating head lady who's bringing all these ghosts to come out and you're like, maybe I don't want them to, and you're getting scared, but then you realize that it's fun. And I think that's what makes it great, is that there's two sides to it. There is the haunted mansion where it is scary and creepy, but then there's also this like joyful like graveyard scene where they're all hanging out. There's like a tea party going on, there's a band going on, there's an opera singer, and they're all just singing this song. And like, I think that's what's so nice about it is that it does have those two worlds and they meet. Alrighty. Number 2, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. Taryn's pumping her fist. So this made all of our top 10 lists. On Jessica and Taryn's, it was number 1. On Kenzie's and Maddie's, it was number 7, and on mine, it was 6. The reason it was so low is just because it's newer. There's not as many like physical set pieces, if you know what I mean. A lot of it is projection mapped. But I love this ride. It's so cute. But I also have that nostalgia for the Great Movie Ride, and I'm really sad that it's gone. And I know it's in the same building, and that's really like part of me is pulling towards that. If this was in Disneyland, where it's in a completely new building, and they did that in Disney World, where they put it in a new building, I think I might love it a little more. Just a little bit of salt in the wound from losing Great Movie Ride.
I mean, this is just astounding. I really thought it was gonna be lower. I don't know why, but the fact is number 2 is amazing. I have so much personal, like, enjoyment on this ride, not only from a guest perspective, but just the fact that I worked on the ride and I kind of know how it works. I still have some friends over there, and just the ride itself. I have so many memories, and I go into the theater, and every time I just dance the song, even though I've seen the show so many times. It's just has so many memories. It's just so nostalgic for me. It's always gonna have a special place in my heart.
This ride is number 1 for me, and I've only ridden it once. If that is a testament to how good this ride is to me. I love this so much. Mickey has needed his own ride since Disney was created. He definitely deserves it. I love all the little scenes. I love that it's a trackless ride vehicle and you split off from the rest of the cars and come back together and all these fun little scenes with all the characters. I will say I'm not a huge fan of the projection mapped faces. However, I do think that it allows them to express a lot of emotion that they couldn't do if it was just an animatronic. So I will give people that argument, but I just think this is such a good ride. I do think that the Chinese theater is a little bit of odd placement since, the Great Movie Ride, movies, all of that. But I think that this is such a good ride that I'm so glad that we have it in Walt Disney World. And I know that in Disneyland it's in Toontown, which makes so much more sense. But since we don't have a Toontown, I'm just happy to have the ride in any capacity.
I definitely agree. I think it was a little lower on my list too because I'm not a huge fan of the new animation style of Mickey, and I don't necessarily know if I like that they used it in the ride. Um, but I definitely agree. Mickey's needed his own ride, and since they took Toontown out of Walt Disney World, I wouldn't know where else to put it either. I think it's an amazing ride, and it shows what the technology can do. Now I think that if maybe they combined it more like Ratatouille, where it was projection map, but then there's also like more of that physical set scene because I don't think any of those scenes are painted. They might be slightly, but I think a lot of it is projection mapped. And so I know, especially in that jungle room, I know it's all projection mapped because it changes. So no one can fight me on that one.
Can I find it?
Go ahead.
I feel like the dance scene is painted, and painted like there's some like painted stuff in the alleyway. Yes, there were no painted set pieces. I'll give you that. Now that I think about it, it's a little both, but also that's it.
I forgot about the dancing room. I love that room. But yeah, I mean, it's totally fair to be at number 2. And like I know like Taryn's connection to it, but I was honestly really surprised that Jessica put it so high on her list because she has only experienced it once. So,
I understand that also I might not be the person to advocate for this ride because I've only ridden it once and my memory could be clouded in offering this judgment, but I think it's an amazing ride and justice for Toontown.
alrighty everyone. If you've been paying attention, you should know what this is. But in our number 1 spot is Pirates of the Caribbean. Caribbean? Anyone?
I'd say
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean. We'll stick with that one. But everyone had this very high on their list. It was number 1 for 3 people. It was number 1 for me. It was number 1 for Kenzie. It was number 1 for Maddie. It was number 2 for Taryn. And it was number 4 for Jess, which I find kind of weird because that's your partner's number 1 ride ever in Disney World.
Listen, Michael, I'm sorry, and I love you. I love the ride, but also I have the thing with animatronics, and I also have the thing with man-made objects submerged in water, and also for some reason boat rides kind of give me like the icky feeling. And it's okay, listen, it's not straight up fear. It's just like an icky feeling that I feel unsettled and I just don't like it. I know that Pirates is like quintessential Disney. It's an amazing ride. It has amazing scenes, amazing sets. It's just everything to go on the ride and you feel so immersed in the story. And it's just like the story is just pirates. Like you can just vibe out. You don't have to know anything. The movies came after the ride. So the ride inspired the movies. You don't have to watch the movies to know what's going on. Maybe to know one of the characters that they put in there. But this ride is so amazing. And I'm sorry that I have it at number 4. I'm sorry, Michael. Don't yell at me. But I just can't get past my animatronic fear and my water fear and all my weird little things. But it's an amazing ride.
I mean, I love Pirates. There's so many just like little details on the ride that you just see every time that you go on the ride, and the smell of the water is so good, and it's just an amazing ride. I will say, I do think Disneyland is a little better just because of some other things. I don't want to spoil it, but just Disneyland's version is a little better, but it's still, this version is amazing too.
Ugh, pirate water. I love that smell. It's Pirates is so nostalgic. I mean, the fact that this is just this is one of the ones where I was talking about where if you think of Disney World dark rides, this is probably the number 1 that anyone would say first besides maybe Peter Pan just because it's a more recognizable IP sometimes, but this is pure Disney park IP. And it is just so overwhelming and calming at the same time. Like there's so many different things going on. I think I've been on it probably maybe even 100 times. So many times. And I notice something new every single time still. It's there's just so much in there. There's so many animatronics, there's so many moving parts, and it's just one of those timeless rides where it's amazing. And to think that they almost didn't put it in Walt Disney World on opening day, it was not there, and people were like, "Where are the pirates?" And so they were like, "We gotta bring them over here because people are gonna burn Walt Disney World down if we don't bring the pirates over to Walt Disney World." So I mean, it deserves number 1. In the fact that it was number 1 on 3 of our lists, number 2 on Taryn's. We won't talk about Jessica's.
Do not.
But yeah, when I think of dark rides, I think of pirates.
I think this definitely deserves number 1 spot. This is quintessential Disney.
Alrighty, just to recap, We're going to go from 10 and we're going to go to 1. In number 10, we had Little Mermaid, 9, Nemo, 8, Living with the Land, 7, Ratatouille, 6, Spaceship Earth, 5, Frozen, 4, Rise of the Resistance, 3, Haunted Mansion, 2, Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway, and number 1, Pirates. I want to thank Jessica and Taryn for recording this episode with me and for all of you out there listening. With that said, that is all for this episode, my friends. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Kingdom Keepers Pod to stay up to date on announcements and future episodes. To participate in our episodes, you can comment on our social media and send us emails to kingdomkeeperspod@gmail.com. We will all see you next time. Bye!
Bye, y'all.
Bye.